Ngisatesha ngale Kingsley, trying to take it easy, climbing up this chimney. But everybody envy, Khalek Batla Bentley with everybody friendly. It's the jazz music, the ordinary Taz music. Get 'em cool, loose bluesing, whatever you going through, snooze it and lose it. The jazz music.
Rolling now.
Away.
We in it.
We in this bitch. First time I shot my friend. Last time we shot, we didn't have a name.
Yeah.
I still feel like we don't have a name, but we've got a couple of options. Yeah, you know, like everybody wants a piece of the pie. Bedroom talk because of the intimacy.
All right.
But you look at a name like Bedroom Talk and you're like, it keeps me in one place. It doesn't give me room to...
Bedroom Talk, no homo. Alright, now I get it.
The other was the Corner Podcast. I think my mom gave me that, which is cute, by the way. Shout out moms, which is cute. But I also feel like is all a black man knows.
But I should say I saw the Corner Podcast. Yeah. I was for that. So if you need any votes, +1 vote from my side.
Then we've got a podcast without a name.
Oh, okay.
It's got a nice ring to it.
Interesting.
But since on the pilot, I was the first. I was the guest, obviously, in order to let the audience know who the host is going to be.
Yeah.
This guy just said we are diving into the rabbit hole.
Yo, now it gets.
Now it gets.
Yo, dog.
Then you get niggas that are like, fun, it's too long.
Yeah. It's the rabbit hole.
But I feel like, yeah, it's the one. I feel like the podcast, officially, unofficially, it may change, it might not change, but I feel like I should welcome you.
Alright.
Deep into the rabbit hole.
Alright.
Welcome, my brother.
Thank you.
We're
in this hole. Yeah.
Salamu alaikum.
Salamu alaikum. Alaikum salam.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's a special greeting.
Yeah.
It's a special greeting.
It's a greeting of peace. It's the worldwide known greeting of peace. So yeah, Salamu alaikum.
And Pinjam is over to in the podcast that he I'd like to pitch, and he's one of my closest friends. He's one of my closest friends. I've learned a lot from the brother actually. No man at meeting, but I feel like I've learned a lot from you. You've inspired me quite a few times. It's sad that we haven't gone into business together, but that's a topic for another day. How do I introduce you? Mina sengakwazi like mina yefrostana as you tell me, but how do I introduce you to the world?
Okay. I'm Mbeko. Mbekwa. I'm Tepo's friend. Actually, we are friends, brothers. Actually, I think we've passed that stage. And I'm a businessman. I'm a philanthropist. I'm the Kasi Steve Biko. That's what I'm known for. And yeah, basically, that's around about it. But I'm a jack of all trades. So if we had to introduce what I do, we'd probably take up the whole episode.
Usually, our corporate masculine, they like jack of all trades, master of none. What are you mastering?
All right. That is the most false statement, according to me. Actually, you know.
Yeah.
Because I feel like the statement was not complete. I feel like the statement is not complete, but I've seen it somewhere whereby they say, jack of all trades is a master of none, is far better than a master of one. So I've seen that being said, okay. And I kind of like shifted towards the latter view of that, because I feel like if you're a jack of all trades, you know, no matter what life throws at you, no matter what happens, you'll always be able to swim, you know, as compared to just fish being in the ocean only. You know, if you had to take out a fish that could run, You know, a fish that could climb trees and a fish that can actually swim. That fish is far better than the fish that can only swim.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Apparently, a person that finds everything they hear as too deep is a person that doesn't read. So you present yourself as a scholar, and you've crossed over, dog. Let's start with this one. I feel like the first one, the greeting. Let's link everything up with the greeting.
All right.
Raised Zulu.
Yes, raised Zulu. Born
Influenced
Xhosa.
Born
Xhosa.
Xhosa.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, born
So
Xhosa,
raised born Xhosa, raised Zulu, Mom
Yes.
Sotho.
Yes. Because the thing goes back now. My mom was raised Zulu and born Sotho. I'm raised Zulu but born Xhosa.
South African story.
Yeah.
Like, have you been in prison?
In prison?
Yeah. Sentenced?
No, I've never been sentenced.
Because most brothers that end up practicing Islam are brothers that have been incarcerated. Like,
No, I stay away. I stay away from anything that will bring me close to prison. I think that's my life's biggest fear. That's
but
my
in
life's
order
biggest
for a
fear.
black man to move into Islam,
Okay.
usually influenced by the system, usually influenced by being incarcerated. Like, there's a lot of things that could happen. And it's like it always comes from a place of a heavy heart. It's like this thing
Something
came and
happened.
rescued me.
Yes. Actually, I feel the same way. I kind of feel like Islam saved me. But then now, just going back a few steps back, we mentioned prison. The reason why, I was telling a friend of mine just a few days ago, the reason why a lot of brothers actually accept Islam while in prison is, so normally you find that the brothers, they go into prison, but then the first thing that they are told by people who've been in prison before, they're like, you should not join any gang. You know, that's like the most important rule. Like, don't find yourself joining any gang, especially like if you're somebody probably who was arrested alone or for whatever reason. So now, when they get there, in order for them to escape the whole gang system, they attach themselves to the Muslims, because the Muslims are kind of like treated as a certain gang because they protect each other and they live together. So once you are part of the Muslims in the prison system, you are excluded from the gang actions. So now a lot of brothers end up joining the Muslims to protect themselves from the gang. That's the first reason. And then secondly, others, you find sometimes that for the food, you know, because the Muslims eat differently from everybody else.
Yeah.
So everybody else, because normally they cook.
Also,
yeah.
people that practice Islam in prison have a different menu, all for the purposes of halal.
For the purposes of halal, because there are authorities that, because we are in a democratic country, you have a right to have your halal food. And then you find that in prison, normally they use amafuta wengulube, upheka. And then we don't associate ourselves with ingulube. So now, it's perceived as a different menu, but normally the menu is actually the same. But it's just that it's prepared in a different way, and you get to have exclusive eating rights. You know, so, and as you know, in prison, the kitchen has its own rules.
Yeah.
You know, there's its own gang-related rules in the kitchen. So that's how people actually remove themselves from the whole gang thing, and then they put themselves now with the Muslims because they feel like we are better protected, we eat better, and we are excluded from everybody else. So I won't be involved in the fightings of the kitchen. But then also, it comes with the lessons, because they are actually Maulanas. And Maulana is a priest basically in Islam. So who come there weekly and then they teach, and then eventually, so like brothers, imam. Yes, an imam. So brothers grow into this system, and then they end up accepting Islam. But I've also had a few exceptional stories in terms of prison, like Uttara. I don't know if you guys heard about Uttara.
Hey, there's still like 325.
Out here 325. So I was listening to how he actually accepted Islam. He was speaking about it in DJ Spoo's podcast.
Yeah.
And he was saying that yena bekahlupha yena ileze bezivurvaya la phakathi. So yena what maka phakathi bamcova one time bamfaka emakhulukudu. Emakhulukudu is what is it called?
I think it's the single cell solitary.
Yeah, the single cell solitary. Yeah. So he was put into solitary, and then when he was put into solitary, he had 3 weeks. So imagine 3 weeks, you're in a single cell, you're all alone there, you're sitting by yourself. So this guy, the only thing that he came across was a holy book, the Quran. That was there. So somebody left it when they left. So now you're in a single cell with this book, and that's the only thing that you've got there, you know. So he started reading it, and and then when he was reading it, that's how he fell in love with Islam. So obviously there are different revelations. So his story is different from the kitchen story.
The only book he has
is the Quran for 3 weeks.
And I got a chance.
For 3 weeks. 4 hours. Why?
Was it the translated version, obviously?
Yeah, it was a translated version of the Quran that he found in the solitary cell, and he studied. So obviously he had 3 weeks to read and 24 hours each day, you know. So I think, and I also really believe that anybody who is exposed to the Quran and gets to read the Quran and you get to understand it, I don't think you'd wanna believe anything else after that, you know, because with that book you'd get to understand that other 3 revelations, which is the Torah, the Bible, you know, and the Quran. They all lead on to each other. If we've read these 3 books, you'll realize that they lead on to each other, and the Quran is the book that comes after the Bible. And even in the Bible, the coming of the prophecy is actually fulfilled in the Quran. So if you're a person who really believes in the Bible and has read the Bible, then you read the next book, then you'll realize, oh, this is the prophecy that was being spoken about.
Some of the stories are the same.
Some of the stories are the same.
So I feel like with the Bible, if you take away the New Testament and just keep the old book, where people got stoned and stuff, and people didn't practice adultery, it was just into straightforward. And then you look at the New Testament, which is now Christianity, being a bit leaner. God is love, God is forgiveness, and God can be all of that, but there was still, I'm not saying for today someone that cheats should be stoned to death. I'm not saying that should be done. But what I'm saying is there is or are ways to deal with those type of things.
Yeah.
That's the African culture. But
yeah, going into that, you know, even in the African culture, the whole correctional services, agna jail in the African culture. You know, there's prescriptions of punishments, yes, but agna jail. So I would equate ijelela namhlanje, Sun City, for example, I would equate it to something that's very similar to stoning to death. I know this is sensitive, but to be very honest, the prison system, it's metaphorical, and it kills our brothers. It kills people. That's why in the African culture,
some come back stronger.
Some come back stronger, yes, definitely. And I feel like in order for you to come back stronger, you should have gone in there with a very strong spirit or strong mind. And of course, nothing is absolute. I mean, everything has an open ending. You know, obviously, if you go into one end, you can come out on the other end. But sometimes, our brothers go in there and they never come back. You know, I can give you an example of a brother of mine who was, I'm not going to mention the name, but he was wrongfully arrested. I mean, this was a brilliant brother. He was wonderful. And he was doing very well in his academics and everything, and then he got wrongfully arrested. And when he came out, and he came out now like as a hardened criminal, you know, he started doing the things, the robberies and everything as he Yes, you know,
because obviously, dog, you
know,
crimes you're committing,
exactly.
crimes you're
so he didn't come out
committing,
better.
yeah.
So he didn't come out better. He came out exactly as what the prison system was teaching him to be. He came out as the criminal that they had prepared him to be. You know. So unfortunately, the brother died in one of the robberies. May his soul rest in peace. But that's just how it is. That's just how it is, bro.
Damn, bro. I'm fana sengiseseleni 4 niggas, 4 walls, not even 4 niggas, 50 niggas.
Hey,
for something I didn't do. I'm fana ukushona. I think angazi, number one.
Yeah.
I've never experienced it. But I probably die, bro. Like you go when I'm on pupa or and then you die. You dying is you papa. I'm sure now what's the
next one.
What's the balance? If I didn't learn now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's another episode of Into the Rabbit Hole. Again, shout out to Pages Abdul for blessing us with another masterpiece. Shit, man, niggas wild.
That's a lot.
And then I told you, the pricing I gave y'all last time is dependent on size, guys. The brother's doing excellent stuff. Hopefully on each episode I get to give you a piece or 2 or 3. But Antonia's players, and shout out to Pages. Please catch him Facebook, Instagram. Pages Abdul Zombona like in Africa. He calls himself the most influential nigga in Mzimhlop, and salute. We were talking religion.
Yeah.
Born, Xhosa, raised. Young Toy?
Yeah.
Unama died in Sapaya. How does a black family accept you?
Okay.
Hell, I know. Aksa.
Sure.
Nakhona I might be guessing, maybe that's what I do, githi ngakhulume.
Yeah.
But kuyaphahla ejartini.
Sure.
Ejartini siyahlaba inkomo njami. There's no
Sure, definitely.
There's no praying for it.
Yeah.
Sikhuluma nayo before.
Mm.
You understand that, like no, it actually is sayithandazela in our own ways. You understand that. But with you guys it's specific.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry for seeing you guys. It's for the Islam Islamics. It's different. How does Okoko that expects Mbeko afike ngesniff na azokhuluma nabo? Because I think it's against your practices.
No, I'll get to continue with your question. Yeah.
So a lot of things change, a lot of dynamics. You were raised Catholic.
Yeah.
So attending the degree yakona konje in confirmation attending
we're in the same class. We're in the same
shout
class.
out to St. Martin's de Porres. I was even an altar server, but that's the story for that's a story for another day. You're raised Catholic,
sure.
But I think Islam stole you a long time ago, so you have had a time to let the family adjust. But how are they receiving? And obviously there are still people that battle with the idea till today.
Yeah.
It's not. It's like a Cassius Clay changing his name to a Muhammad Ali.
Muhammad Ali. It's very difficult, you know.
Like your dad's now sitting there questioning himself. Are you up to it?
Yeah.
What did you choose, by the way?
Uthman, yeah.
Uthman. You'll go into that as well, but
yeah.
Break it down though. Like sing
Okay, cool. Firstly, I'm a strong believer in spirituality, in whatever spirituality. And you know, now I'm gonna take it back because whenever I speak of spirituality, I always refer back to the Quran.
Yeah.
You know, the Quran does mention that every single nation will be sent its own prophet. And this is in the book. So my perception or my understanding of the verse that says every single nation will have a prophet sent to them, it means that every nation will have a prophet sent to them who will speak to them in their language, in their understanding, in their own setting. You get me? So now, when God said that in the Quran, it spoke to me now. It spoke to me directly. I was like, oh, okay. Which means that as Africans, we have a problem, this problem of undermining the origins of our own spirituality. And you find, for example, we have a lineage of kings, we have a lineage of prophets, and we have a lineage of, there's a lot of terms.
They even court for those
lineages, like for example, Itunywa and all of that, and even the whole cultural belief of Izangoma and all of that. So when I'm talking about that, I mean, a lot was taken from Africa, a lot was stolen from Africans, and it was deliberate. Believe me, it was deliberate. So when these things were being stolen from the Africans, it was with the outcome that they wanted to enslave us, and the best way to enslave a people is to actually take away their God or take away their belief. So now, that's why with the Bible, for example, the Bible has been translated. So if you go to a bookshop and you say you want the Bible, you'll probably have like 15 or 16 different types of Bibles. You get what I'm saying?
Mangma.
King James, for example, himself was a king of England, and he put the Bible in his own understanding with I'm sorry to those who believe in it, but with the perception, Yoguti, how can I capture the hearts of the Africans to believe in the gospel that I'm preaching to them? You get what I'm saying?
Is he the birth of the Anglican Church? Because I think the only reason that church was built was because the king wanted to divorce, and it technically also allows the priests to marry. Otherwise, they follow the Catholic route. I think there's one Bible that was birthed.
It's translations.
Yeah.
These are just translations, and that's the dangerous part. And each and every translation.
No, but I see where you're going. Okay,
Yeah,
let's do this.
okay.
Let's do this.
Okay,
Let's do
let's-
this. When I saw Kulumela on the basis of things not being translated, the
Um,
Quran has not been translated.
Yeah.
You are saying that your belief says there's a prophecy or a prophet or the same thing's going to happen in each nation accordingly.
Yes.
Yeah, I understand. Now,
Yeah.
why is Ngana a holy book in our own language?
Yes, I
Or was
coming to
that taken away from
They were
us?
there. It was there. There were books that were sent to the Africans. The holy books that were sent to Africans. Even in the caves that you see the Khoisan written there, there are holy messages that are written in those caves. If you go to Egypt, the scriptures that are written on the pyramids.
Hieroglyphics.
Yeah,
No.
That's the type
Is it
of that's the type of writing.
Yeah.
There's different. Obviously, they were just there's a lot of things that they spoke about in those writings. But I'm saying, within those writings, there were holy scriptures in those writings, because obviously the Bible itself it wasn't like a book that was just written at once. The Quran itself was not a book that was just written at once.
Wasn't
These
it
are
given to
collections.
Muhammad? Peace and blessings upon him.
Peace and blessings be upon him. The Quran was sent down to him, but it was
So it
sent
was
down
not complete.
over stages. It was sent down over stages. So something would happen to his life, and the angel Gabriel will come to him, and then a revelation would be complete. For example, with the Bible also, there's Matthew, Mark, Luke, John. That is a compilation of books. Even the word Bible itself means library. That's why in Afrikaans it's bibliotheek, a library. So now, this library is
School,
just-
there's knowledge. Did you see his eyes?
So
Yeah.
with the Bible having so many books, they put them together and came out with this one.
Who taught you that line? Like, feel like you simply say Billy. Like,
No. I read a lot. I don't even remember. If I remembered where I got that information, I would actually reference it, because it's very important to reference. But I read a lot, and this is information I compiled. This is Mbekwa's Bible.
oh, gosh.
This is Mbekwa's Bible. Over my life, I come across different books. I've been in the synagogue. I've been in the Catholic Church. I've been in the mosque. I've gone to the temple with Hindus, and I've just come to understand. And at the same time, I've also been Parameli, for example, Washembe, to understand, and I've been to the different temples in the local areas, you know, and just to understand where everything is coming. That's why now I'm saying that everyone has their own prophet that was sent to them, but our prophecies were destroyed, and they were hidden from us, and they were taken from our grandparents. And this particular book was given forcefully, you know, it was given forcefully just so that it could support a particular narrative.
Okay.
You understand? Hence the different translations I was telling you about. These different translations, it was for a different time. Each of them was for a different time to impose different beliefs. And they don't change that much, you know? You know, if I had to give you a sentence now, and in that sentence, in one sentence I put, you must go to, for example, Deep Kloof. And then I come back with another book and I say, you will go to Deep Kloof. And then I say, you shall go to Deep Kloof. Those are 3 sentences that are totally different, but they sound the same, and you know, they trigger different emotions. Yeah. So that's what I'm saying.
Now, command,
sure. So these are all different things, and unfortunately, I don't know. I don't even want to mention who changed them, but these were changes. No, we are on a public platform.
But it should be public knowledge, bro. Because these are things that are affecting our day-to-days.
Okay, fine, I'll mention it.
No.
The different Europeans, the different parts of Europe, actually funded the different translations and the different printing of the Bible. You know, like for example, if you go to Mali, you would find in a bookshop different versions of the Bible which are directly for those people so that they can go with the French narrative. If you go to Mozambique, you will find a Bible in the different translations directly made and created for the people who are going to be colonized by the Portuguese. You know, and then us, the bibliothèque guys. We spoke about the bibliothèque guys. The Bible guys. That's why for us, we call it the Bible. Yeah. We call it the Bible because the bibliothèque guys came here and were like, you know what, you guys are going to deal with you in a bibliothècal way.
You are political as well.
Yeah, I am. I can be political.
And as far as the question, I'm
sorry. I did not. Let me just, briefly. My grandmother, I love her so much. Shout outs to her. She's Catholic. For over the years, she didn't like the idea of me being Muslim, and she didn't actually really subscribe to it. But we've spoken about it over and over again. I mean, Rome wasn't built in a day, you know. So slowly but surely, I'm breaking down the walls to her. Yeah. For example, she was surprised the other day. I shared with her a whole verse of the Bible, which is based on Mother Mary. You know, Mother Mary has a whole book
and she's
in the Quran. Yeah, she's a saint in the Catholic Church. So I shared with her the whole book that is in Islam written about Mother Mary, and Mother Mary in the Quran is one of the holiest women. You know, we believe that she
corroborate. Sorry,
they do perfectly so. She was born
the Holy Spirit,
a holy virgin. She gave birth to Jesus, and in the manger. Yeah, his name is Isa. He was born in a manger, and the 3 stars and the star. I mean, the bright star and the 3 wise men. Still very much similar.
Okay, let's go back.
Similar. Yes, sir.
Shout out to Makreza Vele. Tapo Upumbe. There was a point where you mentioned your granddad also tampering with Islam.
Yes, my granddad. That was crazy actually. My granddad did that. My granddad worked a lot with Muslims, and because now one thing, you must know that what we are called to do, right? If we don't do it, or what we are called to understand, if we don't understand it, our children will have the same calling. And if what we did not get to understand, our children will still get the same teaching. So that was the same thing now.
And in most cases, we make the mistake of thinking it's a generational curse. God die.
It's not a
problem.
One person is supposed to understand it and
This thing,
accept
so
it
they
and
can
move
pass it
on.
on to all of you guys, so that the next one has their own
Exactly,
challenge.
exactly.
Yeah. Steve Biko.
Thank
The guy is Steve Biko.
Yeah.
We were speaking about Grandpa.
Yeah.
I was actually about to touch on Grandpa. You said your granddad had an influence on you joining Islam. Tell me about it.
Okay, I don't really think he had an influence, but I believe that, you know, the lessons that we don't get to learn, you know, those lessons will still pass through onto our children, you know, and whatever messages that we don't receive, that we refuse to receive, will go on to our children. And this is the same thing that happened with me, because now my grandfather received the message of Islam. He read books about Islam. He would sit and he had a lot of Muslim friends, and he would learn a lot about Islam, but he was adamant about not becoming Muslim because of I think it was connected to his position in the church. I think he had a fear about it.
Which church was he part of?
He was in the Methodist church. He was Methodist, and because of that, he never really got to accept Islam. But every single day, he'd wake up in the morning, he had Islamic books that he would read, and I'd always ask myself, why is this guy reading Islamic books? And I was growing up, and until he passed on, and then one day my grandmother gave me a case, and I opened up that case, and I saw it was a lot of books, writings, messages, letters that connected my grandfather to Islam. But he never spoke about it, and he never mentioned it, and I think he felt it was his personal journey, and I think it just became too late for him. And then now the message now came to me, but in different forms.
Sure.
In different forms, because I think I felt like I was prepared for the day that I would actually have to accept Islam with the things that happened prior in my life. And there's a quote by Steve Jobs that I really like, that when he says that you cannot connect life looking forward. You can connect life by connecting the dots backwards. So with things that happen before in your life, and then you look at the positions that you're in today, you know, and then you realize, like for example, in my early life, I had the privilege of traveling to Egypt, traveling to Turkey, traveling to Dubai, and I was still there.
How old?
High school life, yeah, and that was way before I had even thought I'd accept Islam. But because of those interactions, those slight interactions, you know, getting to learn a word here, learning something here, learning something there, and then later on in my life, when the message came, and then all these messages came together, and I put together, I was like, oh, this is why I met that guy, and this is why I learned something from that guy, and this. And
you're a pretty good linguist.
Yeah.
In order to be a linguist, you need to know at least 5-6 languages. So what are we talking about?
Okay, I know how to speak. I can say 98% of South African languages. I can speak 98% of South African languages, and then I'm in the process actually of learning. It's been 2 years in now. I've been learning Swahili, which personally I believe is the original African language. And then I'm very fluent in
a lot of y'all
the
are
Turkish.
advocating for Swahili.
Yes, Swahili is very important for the African child. And then
Why?
I know Arabic, I know Turkish, but Swahili. If you learn Swahili, I think if you start to learn Swahili, you'll understand why they say that Swahili is the ancestral language of the Africans, because Because now I know majority of the South African languages. I can tell you that in Swahili, you'd find the roots of our African words. You know, if I played a video for you right now, I think I was playing a video that was in Swahili just a few
What's the
minutes
name?
ago.
What's the name of the video? Please put it on the insert, man, bro. How well?
No, it was one of those TikTok videos. I don't want to. It was one of those TikTok videos.
Yeah.
It was in Swahili. I was listening to it, but
And it made sense to you. Oh, but you said you
no,
were
I'm
learning.
saying it sounds like Zulu. It sounds like Zulu. You know, like I'll give you an example. The reason why I'm saying that our language is root from Swahili is right is because I'll count for you in Zulu right now. It's kunye, kubili, kutatu, kune, hlanu, hlanu. And then in Swahili it's unye, mbiri, tatu, une, hlanu. You understand? So
a bit of Sotho as well.
exactly. That's why now I'm telling you that our languages are interconnected.
Sure.
And then also, now having this connection with Africa, you must know that Swahili connects now with Arabic. You understand? Swahili connects with Arabic and our Nguni languages. So now with Swahili, if you are able to speak Swahili, I've got news for you. You can communicate right through Southern Africa. You can communicate right through Eastern and Northern Africa. So with the Arab speaking nations, you'll be able to speak in the Swahili language. With the Eastern, in the Eastern parts of Africa, they speak Swahili, and then in the northern parts of Africa, they speak Nguni, and then you can, so basically you can communicate with 90% of Africa with that language.
That's beautiful. Bro.
Yeah.
Okay, so Swahili, Turkish,
Arabic, yeah, and then
Majority
South
of the
African,
South.
yeah.
Portuguese, French.
No, I have no interest. I have no interest.
But majority
absolutely.
of Africa speaks that, bro.
Because those are colonialist languages.
Yeah, but Akirevele, the idea was to divide and conquer, bro. Imagine if we were releasing music in Africa in Swahili.
Yes.
How many people would we reach? Would we still be dependent on American media? But those are 52 countries. 52 stars, nah? 52 countries that speak the same language. Obviously, Lil Wayne's gonna have 2 million sales in his first week.
Yeah,
But I mean, how am I gonna reach someone in Kenya?
Yes, if you are rapping in Swahili,
I probably wouldn't.
You would.
Exactly. Now, like our educational system isn't for that, because last I heard they wanted to introduce Mandarin instead of Swahili.
Because the most important tool that our colonialists used to kill Africa basically was the division. You get me? So now they made sure that East Africa cannot communicate with South Africa, and South Africa can't communicate with North Africa, and North Africa can't communicate with West Africa, and that was I think it was the tool that they used.
I remember Africa was cut into pies. Portugal will have this, France will
have this. If you think about it, if you can just go into politics a little, if you think about it, Russia is, I mean, what do they call it? The Soviet Union. No. They call it the Soviet Union.
Yugoslavia.
Yeah. So the Soviet Union, it's not that big. You go to China, the United whatever communist people of China, that they are not that big, but they all speak in one language, they all look the same, and they all act and dress and have a similar culture. Now you have Africa, such a very small part of the world.
Never.
No.
Actually, Africa is actually
I'm just
on the
saying
world
this.
map. Wait, let me just correct that. On the world map, Africa is actually apparently. Allegedly, whatever word. Apparently, Africa is depicted 4 times less than its actual size.
Okay, probably.
Spanning.
Yes. Because we are gifted. God loved us more than any other nation.
Yeah.
God loved us more than any other nation. That is why in this continent of Africa, you will find coffee, you will find gold, you will find spices, you will find diamonds.
You'll
The people
find
in India had to come here to trade gold for spices, right? You know. So if you
but they
think
had rubies. Didn't they get colonized for their rubies?
no,
Because that's how England got there. That's how they took everything from them. They took
I'm not
everything
even
from
going
them.
to mention England. They got nothing. They don't even have coffee beans.
Don't have potatoes at least.
No. Forget about the English.
Yeah.
The English people have nothing. I'm sorry, I'm not dissing them, but they have nothing. But so obviously their main plan was to colonize us, and they had to divide us. They had to make sure that we can't speak to each other, we can't communicate with each other, and then they blocked. They divided Africa into so many states, and this is one of the misconceptions that a lot of people have with the EFF, the Economical Freedom Fighters. Sorry to go
Julius
into that.
asking for no borders.
When Julius says open up the borders, and then a lot of people will be like, Julius ufuna manje namashangana or amakwerekwere or whatever they call them to come here. It's not even about that. It's about Africa gaining its power. So now with Africa, if you break down all the borders, if we could have one leader, obviously it's not possible. If we could have one African leader who could lead the whole of Africa, and then we nationalize all our banks, we nationalize all our mines, we nationalize all our resources, and we hoard, there will be no need for an African to leave Africa to go and buy gold. To go and buy diamonds, for example, in America. Or American Swiss.
Yeah.
You know, they go that side and then they come back and then they, you know,
Okay,
and
but
then they sell it back to us.
Let's go back to basics. Let's go
Yeah,
back to basics.
yeah.
In order for you to go change the world, do you not need to change your room first? That's how our parents always asked us to clean our rooms. Or tina food personal room, the dining room, so we clean our
But then if your parents,
right.
if
As Tandani self.
okay, look at it
We've
this
got
way.
issues of tribalism
We've got siblings.
ourselves.
Let's say we're in the same house. Okay, so right.
In the same house, obviously, there's going to be a parent that's going to sit your asses down or whip your non-get at the same time. I'm for the plan. Dog, if you can look at my status, whatever, messages, whatever, bio, whatever, on WhatsApp, whatever, I am an African.
Yeah.
But I'm not saying that I'm South African first, but I cannot welcome people into my house when it's a mess.
So if you look at it this way, let's go back to the root of that statement. Let's say, for example, we are living in our parental house. We've got my brother, my sister, and we are all living in the same house, right? And then next door, I'm not even gonna say our parents, you know, the next door, the guy from next door comes, and then he's like, okay guys, I've got a solution for you guys. I'm gonna divide your room, only your room, not the whole house. I'm gonna divide your room into 4. Your sister's gonna be here, you're gonna be here, your brother's gonna be here, and your mom and your dad are going to be here, right? So, and then that guy is like, okay, the rest of the house I'm going to keep it, but you stay within the boundaries of these divisions, right? And then in my mom's piece of the room, she's got rice, I've got coffee, you've got sugar, my sister's got tea. And then now this guy comes and collects all of these things, and then he says, if you want to make a cup of coffee, you better come to me and buy a cup of coffee. But he's getting the coffee from you, he's getting the sugar from me, and the milk in the same house. Now we are not allowed to share with each other. You get what I'm saying? So now this is exactly the same thing. Now we are looking at
and you're trading in a currency that's not yours.
And that's not yours. So you need to go next door now to buy the cup of coffee.
Sure.
But then my brother right here next door is the one who's got coffee, and he has to give it to this guy because this guy is a bully. So this is how we got to this position that we are in right now.
I'm also for one Africa for everyone, for all African. I'm not disputing that. It's not going to happen overnight. You also
it's not. Yeah, it took hundreds of years to be divided.
So, dog, if South Africa I feel like in the space of the entire continent, I'm not disrespecting any other nation. I feel like we need to spark that. Number one, we're the only country that has never had. We've had these mini wars, man. people bombing up Carlton centers,
Yeah.
MK up in arms, and all of that. But there was never really a war.
But now.
Wait.
Okay.
There was never really a war. So there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of things piling up. People are boiling. You understand? And if we're gonna start opening up borders to the rest of Africa, and I'm okay with that. Don't get me wrong. But what are we letting the rest of Africa into?
Okay, I
Let's
understand.
clean our back room. Let's make sure everything else is clean on our end.
Yes.
And njenge Pac-Man, dog. Lesotho
Sure.
forgoes its border. Eswatini forgoes its border.
I pray for that. I pray for that day.
Yeah, understand.
I pray for
we
that
come
day.
back, Mozambique.
Yeah,
and then end
I
up
pray for
having the
that day.
SADC region as an entire country. That way we can start moving further up, further north, east, west. Gangan.
I
In
get
the
you.
Congos it's going to be difficult because there's an ongoing war.
Yeah.
And
Never
right now-
smoke, guys.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Steve Savvy.
Stay savvy. Thank
Yeah.
you.
Oh, well.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, you made me lose my
No,
mind.
yeah,
But
we're opening up the SADC region.
We're opening up the SADC region, we're
Yeah.
going up. Ganane. It's not going to happen overnight for the fact that we still call black people, we're still xenophobic against people of our kind.
Yeah.
And we don't look at, and unfortunately, like for the sake of the conversation, like we don't look at Indians as foreign nationals. We
Yeah.
don't look at Europeans as foreign nationals.
Yeah.
I still see a nigga that's blacker than me as a foreign national. Why? Nkawuthekile.
Yeah, it's Kawatigi.
So, if we haven't changed our mindset yet, and Africa doesn't even give a shit about us. I was watching something the other day. They were like, South Africa's Africa Light.
Yes, I understand.
We are considered Africa Light because of the fact that we didn't fight for anything, for the fact that we maintained a peace that was never there, for a fact yokuthi awukazi ugibela isihlahla uphethe AK Charlie, or your closest relative telling you how they lost. Like there's I'm not saying, dog, for every liberation there must be deaths, maramfana. Blood washes away a lot. A blood river will get rid of a lot, or it will be the beginning of the lot. Toti, that blood river Rashala was the beginning. We need our own.
Yeah.
And again, I am not saying what they're mistaking your CIC for saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying go out shoot farmers. I'm not saying go out shoot.
No, we're not
Indians.
saying that.
I'm
We're
not
not
saying
saying
that.
that.
But what I'm saying is South Africa didn't fight for shit.
Yeah, to get to that, the thing is, if we look at it this way, South Africa is actually the youngest democracy in
What's
Africa.
democracy?
Okay, that's another question. We'll get to that.
It's not a democracy.
No, it's a young democracy. It's a young democracy.
It's
Let's
a new
agree.
world order. South Africa is a new world order.
Okay, fair.
Exactly.
I don't know what the
Fucking
new world
hierarchy
order
and
is.
shit.
I don't know what the new world order is, but I have to say that South Africa is a young democracy. We are 20 plus years
30
into
maybe.
Yeah, maybe almost 30 years.
Badala.
30 years
Badala.
or less into democracy. But now, if we go up Africa, you'll find that there are countries who are having 70 years of independence,
Exactly.
60 years of independence, 50 years of independence. And if now you compare the stories of those countries, when we're speaking about a war that happened, for example, in the Central African Republic,
Still happen.
yes, a war that is happening there, and then a war that is happening in Congo or in Angola. These are things that we might not even encounter in our generation.
We
might not. I don't know.
Africa, we
I
are
don't know.
going to where. Listen.
But we are in that direction.
Yeah.
We are in that direction because, best believe, the colonizers are ruthless, bruh. They will take and take and take until there's nothing left to take,
That's the
until
thing.
South Africans take from each other. And then the first point of reference, because it has already started happening, the first point of reference, we are going to attack our own African brothers because we're going to feel like they are taking what belongs to us or what is rightfully ours. And then now we are skipping the actual culprit.
Sure.
We are leaving the actual culprit. So now, by the time the culprit leaves our shores, best believe the whole of the colonizers will
not
know.
left already.
The colonizers
we have it in abundance, dog. That's why I'm saying the rest of Africa is looking at us because we have never fought, and we can be the start of the. We have the blueprint. We've got Mugabe, excellent. Couple of mistakes.
a lot of mistakes.
Early
But
execution.
yeah.
Wait, early execution. Not grooming someone that's gonna come in after him.
Agree
And
with you.
and like just patience, bro. Nigga came in and nigga wanted to smash. Hulk.
But they were ruthless to him. They never gave him a chance.
Le Mandela, for instance, or the clone they gave us, or whatever the people have to say.
I don't know.
Even AI,
Sure.
there's something I saw with AI. It says how Mandela, with the spore sighting.
Yeah.
So they took that image and asked that image how Steve said, yeah, not
Alright.
preach.
I'm going to really wonder breakfast.
Where was I? Yes, the clone Mandela.
Sure.
He came out. He was like, okay, there was some hints. So the fate of the struggle is not true.
Yeah.
Alita, continue.
Yeah.
It has taken us a while to get here because we've never had a leader that has alluded to that point.
Sure.
Julius has mentioned it a couple of times. But okay, Fede Matala Samurai, he got us from one place to the other.
Yeah.
You understand that? And
Yeah.
from now on, we need to run a different race, a
Yeah.
separate race. You understand?
Sure.
So we are at a point where we are 30 years in, we've got people with doctorates in each and every field that represent you and I.
Yeah.
We've got people in every sector that have been Stapa boys. People that have been learning the trade, driving, but is letting the passengers in.
Yeah.
They've been in the forefront. We've got people that can take office.
Yeah.
Manje HIV too,
Yeah.
like as soon as this paper you wanna eat and not work, you wanna bring in Rahadi Wahao, and people need to be eating sonke at the same time. You understand?
Sure.
So I'm saying that we are at a point where we can do what Zimbabwe did.
Yeah,
We can
I get you.
advocate for what Gaddafi got killed for.
Yeah, Gaddafi. He's
my
the
man,
last candidate that I was.
There's another thing that Julius said, since we teamed up your political views now.
Sure.
Julius says, had South Africa taken a stance to say, we are not siding with Ukraine, we are not siding with Russia, we are not saying what you're doing is okay, China and Russia would have followed suit. But because we take money from the West, Spice Kelem Kada, and that is fact. There's no stance, there is no leadership, nothing is firm, bro. So, opening borders right now.
No, I'm not saying we should do that overnight. I mean, obviously it's not going to happen tomorrow morning, because of the conditioning. As I mentioned, the colonizers, they are ruthless, bruh. They are really ruthless, and they will not let Africa go until there's absolutely nothing left. But
Are we
for
ever going
Africans
to get to a point
eat
where
each
Africa
other,
has nothing?
yes,
Never, dog.
yes.
I mean, I'm no, dog. If Africa closes all its borders, start to find Kerk City back to Dutchland, start to Abo Kutropali, Nabo Patel, back to India, shut down our borders, control our waters, have taxes on our waters, because that's another thing we don't have control over. People come in with the exports, imports, emanzini wetu. We're not even getting a cent.
Bruh, let me tell you, speaking of that,
Charlie.
okay, firstly to answer you, we must remember that the land is regenerative,
It is.
Whatever we don't have today, we might have again in the next 50 years or in the next 150
Let's
years.
give it 150.
Yeah.
So
So now, so now the problem is going to welcome anybody else to come into here. We are not bringing in the expertise. We're not bringing in the experience.
we have the expertise.
We don't have the experience.
We
though.
do have the
We do.
experience. Who are we serving right now? We're serving those guys. Who's doing most of the job right now? We are doing that. There's a saying that in Lagos, if you throw a stone, there's a professor. Are you telling me that they're all professors in accounting?
They are.
It can't just be accounting.
Not in accounting only, but they are professors.
Exactly.
Yeah, they are professors.
So I'm saying we've got the qualifications, we've got the manpower.
Yeah.
And
so now I'm going back to that, to what you said.
Africa
You see now you see now you're speaking about Lagos, for example. I'm going back to what we were speaking about when I said that we are, as South Africans, we're still a very young nation. The experience we can get from the Nigerians, for example, when we say that there are so many professors, this is exactly what we are getting to, because we are only investing in education right now, even partially so, but we are only investing in education to such a point that tomorrow we'll have doctors but no patients for them.
Sure.
You
But
understand?
Cuba has the
So-
same problem, but they serve the world with their doctors.
That's exactly what they are saying. But now we as South Africans, we are saying we don't have enough for the Africans.
Okay. Let's
Cuba is saying we have enough for the world, but South Africa is saying we have enough, but we don't have enough for the Africans. We don't have enough to share with the Africans. We don't have enough soldiers to go and defend the Central African Republic.
It's on a personal level. Rwanda, knowing, okay, not Rwanda, it's a bad example. Was somewhere in the Congo where a bomb might just explode in the next 20 minutes.
But then what was your job
fair chance.
description?
Fair chance.
Okay.
You swear an oath to go help, protect,
Yes.
and serve the
Yes.
people of that country that ordains you as a doctor.
Yeah.
You understand? Then your country says, look, unless you're a doctor in the military, it's a completely different story. I
Alright.
understand. But if you're a public servant,
Okay.
you get sent to a Congo, Yelewa.
Yeah.
They need medical, and obviously in order to kill the next military, yonke into basizayo is a hindrance.
Yeah.
Now you're dropping a bomb at the Babizan center or whatever, the UN care center or whatever the fuck it is.
Yeah.
Mntwana abantu sabashonile on the job.
But now
But as SADC,
yeah.
we will have a bigger influence if there's a war in the Congo.
Do you know what makes America so great? America is
Guns.
America is the greatest country in the
Guns.
world.
They spend
America is the greatest
3
country in the
trillion.
world.
3 trillion. I'll check it out. Fact check.
It's because as soon as there's something anywhere where there is a potential for them to benefit or a possibility for them to benefit, best believe that the Americans, if there was a huge explosion here in South Africa that killed 1,000 and something people, tomorrow morning we'll have the American army here.
Yeah, because they're right here.
We'll have the UN.
What
here.
are they doing in
We'll have exactly.
What
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
naturally.
That's what I'm saying. So now why can't, if we as the South African people, we say that we have, as we claim to be, we claim to be such a great African nation. We are the only nation that has all of these things that we claim to be having, and we have the best weapons in the army, etc., etc. But now, what are they for if we cannot send it out to the Central African Republic?
Because we're not patriotic, bro.
Exactly, that's
We
what
are
I'm
not
talking about.
Patriotism
Patriotism extends beyond the South African borders, as far as Egypt, as far as Cairo.
It can get there, but
It should.
Our back room is not clean. We cannot clean the community singole self. That is how do we then channel South Africa into saying, Ebafetu Lesotho, fuck your borders, join us. Eswatini, fuck your borders. Because majority of those countries are only run by those, what do you call, monarchs.
Monarchs, yeah.
Exactly. So we've got the Kingdom of Lesotho,
Yeah.
we've got the Kingdom of Zululand, we've got the Kingdom of Eswatini. We move in just above Mapungubwe. Mapungubwe, Limpopo.
Yeah.
Sangena, Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe is part of us.
Yeah.
Sangena, Mozambique, Sangena. We can make a difference that way. That way, Kupuga in whatever strong. So the Pula is the strongest right now. So some cases so Spanish Pula going up until we get to an Africa with one currency covered by natural resources. But it cannot happen overnight because there are going to be threats. There's going to be wars.
So
there's
you're
gonna be
agreeing with
sellouts.
me?
Hey.
So you're agreeing with me?
No.
And
When guy.
no, it's not going to happen like that. It can't happen overnight, obviously, as I was telling you. But in thing sure, Yomina, is that the only thing that's stopping Africa is for Africa to be one. I mean, going back to what I was telling you, Russia is such a powerful country to such a point that Russia can tell the whole world to fuck off, because Russia is it's not even as big as Africa, but Russia is a whole republic. It's a whole continent, and that's why they call it the Soviet Union, and that's why they're able to wage war against Ukraine, because Ukraine is refusing to join in arms with them. You understand? And they are right on their land. You know. So if Africa had the same power or had the same understanding and had a leader probably as strong as Putin, because for example, I mean, we had Gaddafi, and I was thinking that if Gaddafi had lived, this was going to be the reality of the Africans. Maybe not now, maybe not next year, but soon. But that's the reason why they had to conspire against him and get him killed, because they knew that if he had lived, he was on the verge. He was a champion for the African Union. He was making sure that the African Union was working. He was making sure that the African Union was working towards its own oil reserves, its own gold reserves, and its own currency.
Imagine an Africa with
and its own
so
currency.
much gold does not have a reserve.
Exactly. And imagine imagine if you're watching if you switch on the news, they're gonna tell you about how much a barrel of oil is being sold in dollars. Tell me one state in America that has oil. But then now why are we buying oil in dollars? Or gold even. Even when they show the gold prices, they show them in dollars.
But I think there's
not even a single state with gold.
I think there was a strong move from, I think, 1 or 2 African countries in conjunction with the Chinese. They decided to stop trading in the US dollar. I think they chose another currency, something that makes sense to them.
It's because the Chinese will always choose themselves first.
Yeah, but that's a very good strike, bro. Like, that's taking away power from Aksana middleman.
You cannot trust the Chinese in anything. You cannot trust the Chinese in anything.
But we've trusted the Americans all along.
But the Chinese are even worse. I mean, if I can tell you, they've literally hijacked the copper industry in Zambia, in Congo. They've literally hijacked it. It belongs to them. They transport the copper. Let me tell you, a few years ago, I used to work for a logistics company, and one of the funniest moments that I saw was that so a truck came in. It's coming in from Zambia. It's coming in from Zambia. It was filled with copper. So we were supposed to commission the truck to go to the Durban harbor, and from the Durban harbor it was going to go to China. And then on the same day, a truck came in from the Durban harbor, landed on our door, and then it was commissioned to go to Zambia, and it was filled with cables, copper cables. So now the funny part is Zambia is now sending this copper. Zambia is sending copper to China, and China is sending cables to Zambia. Do you understand how much of a tragedy that is? That's a very big tragedy. And I just thought to myself, and it's like, how is this actually happening? The Zambian people are actually mining this in their poverty state. They are mining this copper, sending it to China and buying cables from China. Copper cables. Just doesn't make any sense. But and that's the reality of Africa.
That's the reality of Africa. Jam, we've spoken about religion. We touched on politics. We got a tad bit too controversial.
Okay. I'm sorry to anybody that
there's a disclaimer, I'm afraid. I see you being a star, she or whatever. These are just views and stuff. Mbeko before Islam.
Okay.
Ash. Nah.
Okay.
Fuck Mbeko before Islam. Let's go into business, bro.
Alright,
there's something you're working on that touches me, no?
Yeah.
You call it, I'm sorry, I'm just gonna disclose.
Yeah. Cool.
You call it the sacrament of failure.
Yeah.
How failure means more than your wins.
Basically.
You've tried every business, I know. That's one thing that's more Islam than anything you've done. I mean, you come up. Muslims are in every business. Whether it's brake pads, whether it's rice, whether it's fish oil, whatever. Some of them strived. Majority failed. And you still pushing. And that I guess gave birth to the title of the book.
The Sacrament
because
of
you're
Failure.
an author as well.
Yeah, I'm an author.
What's failure, bro? Besides the conventional.
Or in my own perception.
In your
right?
own perception, how failure has affected you? How?
I'm just gonna put it in the perception of the book.
Abanye abafailure dog bagcina bangatholi neplate endlini. Akasaphakele ubaba omncane wakhe because he's not bringing anything in. That's another form of failure.
I get it.
It might not be failure, it might be same, or it might be the situation at the time, but in the next person's eyes, it's failure. What's failure?
To just go back, I think it just brings us back to why I decided to title my book The Sacrament of Failure, because as you had mentioned earlier on, I was raised and born Catholic. And if you know, in the Catholic Church, we speak of the Holy Sacraments. You know, when you are born, you have to do the sacrament of baptism. After the sacrament of baptism will come the sacrament of the confession, sacrament of the Eucharist, sacrament of confirmation, sacrament of marriage, etc., etc.
Holy orders.
Yes, exactly. So that's how it goes. So now these sacraments, you cannot go into the one without the other. You cannot get baptized. You cannot confirm if you haven't done the Eucharist, or you cannot take the Eucharist if you're not baptized. You see. So now, that's why I named it the Sacrament of Failure. So now you cannot go into your season of success without this holy sacrament of failure. Failure.
For the first time, Pope.
I'm calling upon everyone who feels that they are now successful. I'm calling on everyone who now feels that they are now successful in whatever that they are doing to write in the comments to say that I have not failed. I'm putting out a challenge.
So
no, it does not. No, you cannot just wake up tomorrow. You cannot wake up tomorrow and say that I'm a master in this without you having experienced the sacrament. Even if you do, because let me tell you, if you are speaking about the businesses that I've gone to, I'll give you an example. I woke up one day with the revelation that you need to go into the food business. That's how Captain Bar was born. I started, I was like, and I sat down and I took out a piece of paper and I was like, I wrote down Captain Bar, and the name came, and then everything, I started planning everything, and I put out a date. I had no money. Literally. And I said, in 2 weeks' time, I'm opening up my first restaurant. And I opened it up in those 2 weeks, and the opening was successful. Sure. The restaurant was successful. It went on very well, and everything happened very quick, much quicker than me. So anybody that saw the opening of that restaurant, they're like, yo, this guy woke up one day and said he's opening a restaurant, and he was very successful in that restaurant. But if I can tell you how many business ideas came before that particular business that failed, and how many things I had failed in, you understand? So I had to now take in the lessons from the failures. And even though the business was successful, a lot of people, I always tell them that was a huge fail for me. And a lot of people will be like, but you know, and I can even disclose the numbers. On the first day of the restaurant, I made 35,000 rand with 0 rand investment. On the first day of the restaurant, when I opened,
it was busy. I remember.
It was busy. I counted when I closed the restaurant on that day. I had 35,000 rand
in hand at the end of the day. At
the end of the day, this is because now remember when I'm saying I had no money.
Yeah.
Basically, this is what happened. I called out somebody, yo, do you have a microwave? Please borrow me a microwave. Yo, do you have a gas griller? Please borrow me a deep fryer. Please, you know, that's what I mean when I said I had 0 rand.
But obviously, transport for those things must have been like on a maybe 2 hour, 10 hour.
Not even. Not even. I called up somebody who had a butchery that I know.
Oh,
I had a friend who had a butchery, and I called him and I was like, "Yo, dude, please borrow me meat. I'll pay you next week." You understand what I'm saying? So I literally, okay, fine, maybe 1,000 rand or 1.5, whatever it was. But then the success of the restaurant, I cannot even say that on that day I had any money. You know, I really didn't have money because now I had to call up everyone. You know, I had to call up people who were selling things.
Contact list.
Basically, I called people and I was like, yo, I need meat, I need bread, I need salads, I need this and this. And then I called, even you, when you came, you started working. I didn't have staff there, you know, and everybody just started working. So that's what I mean when I said, but that's why now when I'm speaking about failure, I can say that that restaurant was a failure because I did not learn anything from the success of the restaurant. Hence, after a few months, after some time, the restaurant fell off, you know, because I did not learn anything from the success.
And you had a lot of challenges.
The success,
like you almost got shot.
You get what I'm saying? There was a lot of things that were happening, you know. I had a lot of things happening.
I was tall. I think Mbeko was tall. I think it was sent by Wadi Chaba. Yes, sacrament of failure. You're explaining what it means. You spoke about the dream and the inception of Skaftin Bar.
Yeah.
Not expecting people to think Uti success comes overnight.
It's a process.
It's a process.
By the way, so the sacrament of failure will be out on Amazon before the end of September.
This year.
Yeah, this year. So people need to check it out. I wanted to do hard copies, but not now. So I'll just start with the Amazon.
Yeah, but I'm just deliver hard copy. No man, about one of the first batch, you know.
Alright, so not a problem.
So these are about Ellis. Since we're into the rabbit hole, so these are about Ellis until we find a better, you know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the book will be out in September. Before the end of September.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll have a link.
We'll put it out.
Get one.
Sure.
In the comment section. Politics. Sacrament of failure, religion.
Yeah. You spoke about loss.
We spoke about loss. That's the sacrament of failure.
Okay.
In closing, not necessarily in closing, because
okay.
you're one of the people that I'd still love to have back a couple of more times. I feel like we only touched the surface.
Touch base,
yeah. For the sake of people that want to follow you, know what you're doing currently right now.
Okay.
How people can get in touch with you, because I know you do consulting as well.
Yeah.
Mfana zipa izinto ngifuna nje summarize and I'll summarize it in my head. Let's do this.
Okay.
In closing.
Yeah.
What's your legacy, bro? What's the end goal? I understand we're still building to it.
Yeah.
Skafigi, last one,
sure.
We've got a lot of pressures. A lot of us have time, time strains, time frames, whatever.
Yeah.
Are we going?
All right.
If
basically, the legacy that I'm looking at, I really don't think because you know, as I had said that I'm a philanthropist. And one of the most
philanthropist
doesn't really
Bruce Wayne vibes.
No, it's the last. Obviously we need money to live, you know. But more importantly, for example, the sacrament of failure. It's something that I'm hoping that even if we don't really make any sales, but I'm hoping somebody in the future will probably pick up a book somewhere, maybe in an Orlando library, you know, somewhere, and be like, there was Mbeko who lived. and these were his principles, and this is how he felt about. These were his ideas, and I'm hoping it will change somebody's life.
Sure.
And in whatever I do, also I always just look out to inspire. Firstly, you know, I really want people
Before
out
you
there
expire.
Yeah, before, not even after I've expired, because that is the whole the important part of being a philanthropist is to plant seeds. Is that even if you don't get to eat the fruit or sit under the shade of the trees that you plant, but keep on planting as many seeds as possible, and making sure that maybe in the next 50 years there's somebody's child who's going to be able to sit under the tree and actually enjoy the shade of the tree.
Hey, Chad.
Yeah.
The son of Africa.
Yeah.
Africa. I get you. It's been a pleasure to have you on.
I appreciate it.
I'll tell me in the podcast, so I better be there. Gotta get my ass on that. As we climb out of the rabbit hole, dog, it's been a deep one. I feel like we lost track. We didn't really answer the questions. It's not like there's a script and stuff. But I love the jewels you've dropped. I love the knowledge that you've dropped. I like the fact that you just came in, opened yourself up, and spoke out. When the book drops, hopefully we can get an exclusive podcast and like a book release type of thing.
Yes.
But mina ngiyabonga from the deepest point of my heart. Maybe now in a Cape Point somewhere, I don't know. But thank you, bro. Thank you for being here. Thank you for encouraging. Thank you for clearing up a lot of things. You cleared up things like Islam in prisons. You cleared up why brothers would then bring themselves onto something like that. You've cleared up.
No, thank you, my bro. Thank you, and I'm proud of you. I mean, the setup is great, and I'm hoping and I'll be praying for the podcast to grow in numbers, guys. You must click, subscribe there.
Hit the like button.
Make sure that you follow us wherever you see us. You repost and you share, and you make sure that the rabbit hole goes as far as possible.
Yeah. Let's climb out. Back to reality. Thank you, G.
Hola, my gang.
Oh, yeah. And it's a wrap. It's been your boy Proje. It's been another dope episode. I'm also learning. Stay on the journey. Stick with me. Let's figure this shit out together. Comment section is for you guys. Like, let me know what to improve on. Let me know what to bring on. Let me know. And as my friends having like coffee and stuff. So hopefully with our next guest, who's not in chains, who's not tied up, we'll have a conversation about it. And cheers. It's been real. Shout out to the hub. Shout out.
Kuri ngwanaka wa nthetsa mruti maine ke batla project mona mo studio ngwanaka wa nthetsa yeah.